Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Hangout. It's the Truth Observatory, where I observe things that I find true to me. And hopefully, the whole point is that you also find it true to you. And we can meet on some sort of middle ground and then help each other grow and evolve more from that middle ground by rising it up. So, I thought I'd talk a little bit about spiritual practice and why it's important. And I also want to say, let's look at the whole concept of spirituality and spiritualism. So, I guess in my earlier days, spiritual was kind of one of these trigger words that threw me off a little bit. And I was like, spiritual? Made me just think of a bunch of hippies running around. Made me think of people just namaste, la da dee, everything is cherry, rosy. And people just, it almost seemed like kind of a superficial word to me. And so I was always a little drawn away from it or pushed away from it just because of that. And I don't know why I thought that. I haven't really done a lot of deep in. It's just I assume it's a cultural connections, implants that I've just absorbed throughout my life. So I would like to supplant the word spiritual with consciousness, because what made me realize that spirituality is very important was what it was. And it really is synonymous just with consciousness itself. So you've got your conscious mind, then you've got your subconscious, then you've got the collective conscious, then you've got the super conscious, and I guess it just keeps going. And you could just say consciousness in itself is just one nested inside of another conscious organism or conscious entity nested inside of another, like a big fractal existence experience. So consciousness, it's when you I find throughout the day that you need to feed your spirit. So much stuff is pulling shit from our spirit. It's pulling from our consciousness, and it's really, it feels like negativity. And it's just people taking energy, and they try and do it in so many ways that when you really start to see what's going on, talk about all these spiritual wars and stuff. What do they call it? The battle of something in Sanskrit. I don't know. It translates to the battle of the mind or the battle of the spirit. And it's just this spiritual war that's always going on at play. People may think they're just joking around, or trying to have a good time, or whatever they're trying to do, whatever situation you find yourself in where you feel drained and out of energy, and you're just fucking hell, man. TV will do it. Some type of music will do it. A lot of stuff does it. Food does it. Food definitely does it. So when you're feeding your spirit, you're feeding your consciousness, and it's really, you gotta set up customs to where you're you gotta look at something I'm looking at this camera, or I'm looking at this notepad down here, or I'm looking at a steak or something, and I gotta look at it and absorb everything that it is first with my eyes, or if it's making sound with my ears, and just think and really pull everything that is outside onto the inside, because that's really where it is. Really internalize it all and start to break it down and think, just kind of mull it over, go over set up customs. What do they do when you're at customs in another country? And these, your senses, they're like your ports. This is why I make this little metaphor, because You got to set up customs at all the ports before you allow any new information or data to come through. So if you're smoking cigarettes, like, what you got to do is you got to look at it, identify it for what it is, internalize it, realize that whatever is in between your fingers or on your plate or in that book is just something that is really inside of your mind. And ultimately, it is inside of your spirit, inside of your consciousness. So, we are far more often than not letting things seep into our consciousness, into our subconscious mind, that we don't necessarily want in our subconscious mind. It's these kind of things that habitually just pull energy from us, and we'll walk around tired all day and not know why we're so fucking tired or so drained. And it's just because we've been filling our mind with dumbass commercials on TV, a shitty Netflix show, like just a bunch of nonsense, just hanging around the wrong people at work or trying to fit in somewhere where you don't really fit in, but you're making this big effort and it pulls a big part away from you. And then that stuff, it's like you're not constantly in awareness of all of your subconscious mind at once. Like, that would be overwhelming. However, it will be overwhelming when you got all that negative, contextually negative shit running around in your mind. So you really got to set up customs and start observing, pulling yourself into the moment before you start receiving any sort of data, any sort of information. Because the doorway, like they say, the eyes are the window to the soul, or the eyes are the doorway to the soul. And I find this very true. Just right behind the eyes, that's your spirit, man. It's right fucking there. Like, you are a spirit. And this body, this temporary flesh vessel, is just a medium. It's just a mode of perception and nothing more. We're an infinite consciousness, like, delineated into these five senses. And it's like, it's really kind of pulling us apart. And the more we take stuff outside of us that look very apart from us, even though they are a part of the infinite consciousness, the more it can kind of pull us apart. So I hope you're kind of tracking me on that. To collapse all that together is that you can start rejecting things. You don't have to be a victim to your surroundings all the time. You can start rejecting what you want and what you don't want within your spirit. And then you need to feed your spirit the good things. They're everywhere. Beauty, I don't know if you can see, but I just put all my books on this bookshelf. It feels quite nice. That's kind of a spiritual thing because they're ideas and stuff. But one of these ones over here is Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he's got this great essay on beauty and how you can even find beauty in the rotting corpse of a human. And you can find beauty, it's true, you can find beauty anywhere. It is everywhere. Just go outside. You don't even have to look. Just close your eyes, like, feel nature's air surround your entire being. Take a deep breath of that shit. Some sweet ass prana, you know what I'm saying? Feed that to your spirit, and you'll inhale beauty and goodness, and then exhale the bullshit, as that meme says. It's on the internet. I've seen it everywhere. Anyways, I'm kind of pissed at myself that I just quoted a meme, but anyways, spiritual practice, a consciousness practice, drawing your consciousness to the present. And I, for one, think that there's some sort of divine providence over the language, so that it falls in line with some sort of harmonic principles, meaning that we can take one word and, like, perhaps the etymology of that word and sort of unpack it and decrypt it. And there's multiple layers to words, because we didn't just combine one word. We didn't just combine the word present. It comes from other languages that have similar ideas behind it, similar meanings, similar consciousness, energy, and spiritual concepts and vibrations that affect us in a particular way, and they have evolved into what we have now. So I want to unpack that word present a little bit as we go on, just so I don't confuse you once I start talking about some weird shit and you're like, what are you talking about? But my spiritual practice is like, I do meditation. I do transcendental meditation, which is, you can look it up online. I'll probably do a video on how to do transcendental meditation. It's ridiculously easy, and it's a fucking, it's highway robbery that they make you pay to learn from a real, what is real? They make you pay to learn from a trained meditation guru or whatever. It's all nonsense. Don't pay for any of that shit. Just look it up online. I'm going to probably make it in the next video on how to do it, because it's incredibly beneficial. But I think meditation is 100% not a necessity, but it's a it attaches you more to your spirit, because our awareness and our ego is obviously not entirely melded with the spirit. Our consciousness is not entirely melded with the subconscious. I think once you get to a point where you start feeding your spirit good shit instead of bad shit, that your goal, I think this is also comes into one of the definitions of enlightenment, is completely merging the conscious with the subconscious mind, and being in a state of knowing, reasoning behind all of your actions and your intentions and your motivations and your desires and your beliefs, to be in complete awareness of the totality of your being, which might seem crazy at first because we've got so many thoughts and so much stuff that is inside of us, but in no way is that impossible, or should it not be. You shouldn't shy away from that, because there's an infinite wealth of knowledge and wisdom within us, and we block it off with these kind of shit we fill our minds with that really shouldn't be there. So meditation closes that gap between the conscious and the subconscious, and it starts to filter them together. You become more aware. It's not that like you can process multiple thoughts at once. It's that you're able to let go of a lot of thoughts at once and just absorb yourself into the energy of a situation or of yourself, so that you can better channel exactly who you are and what you're trying to be. And so in a way, meditation helps you know yourself. Meditation definitely helps you know yourself. It's one of the easiest ways to explore consciousness and to explore self, is just to sit down and silence your mind and close your eyes and look inside for that insight. You're really, when you go into meditation, it's drawing yourself, your awareness, into the present moment. This is what I was going to talk about. Well, another little metaphor right here, thought of by yours truly. Meditation is like unwrapping the present, because you got this present, and it's wrapped up in all this wrapping. It's wrapped in wrapping. It's wrapped up in physical matter, right? It's wrapped up in physical matter reality. It's wrapped up in light, and we don't really see behind that until we unwrap it. So meditation is like pulling away the wrapping paper of the present moment, and it allows you to, again, absorb the energy, absorb we're all in a sort of a plane of existence within ourselves. It's a spiritual place. It's like they say, behold, the ladder went up and it went down. And when you bring yourself into the present, you realize where you are really. And so that you can start to, what is the word? Ah, God, I can't know. I'm so bad with fucking words in some ways. But you start to be able to like self-navigate your own consciousness. You're able to see behind the present, within the present, see what is making up this presence. And really it's at the end of the day, it's the gift of life. And when you start to realize like I'm in this present, this life is a gift, all the answers you're looking for, they're all right here. They're all right in front of you. They're not even staring you in the face. They're behind your face. They're inside your consciousness, and we can't see it. Sometimes we don't feel it. We can't pick up on it because, our it's like we've got this filter on, and we are clogging up this filter with all sorts of nonsense. So meditation is like a ritualistic practice to declog this filter and to make it so that you can see clearer through the lens of truth. So I think that wraps that up. I mean, once you get into that conscious, you start to merge your conscious with your subconscious. I mean, every single person, it's not just like my conscious and my subconscious. It's like your conscious, the subconscious, the collective conscious, and then like the conscious being that collective mind is within, Brahma, the ultimate creator, or whoever this guy is, that, Sophia, they say we're living in Sophia's dream, who is the creatress god of Gnostic Christianity. Really good myth, I suggest highly to look into it. But when you go deep inside, you're not just going deep into yourself, you're going deep into reality and the origins of said reality. And that's really what all this is about, knowing yourself and knowing God. So there's nothing better than that. That's honest. And it's like once you start doing that kind of shit, it's like the universe. Once you start trying to get to know yourself and start taking the reins of your own consciousness, sitting in your own captain's chair, becoming the master of your own fate, the captain of your own soul, the oversoul is going to be like, all right, this motherfucker's getting kind of serious. Let's reward him a little bit. And you get more energized. To use the lingo, you're building prana, you're building ki, real energy. It's just life force in general. I remember the first time I sat down and chanted, I did the Om, so I was like, Om, like, I don't know, like 15 minutes. I was so fucking wired the rest of the day. Maybe that was placebo, but somebody explain what a placebo is. I still be getting placebo. Placebo's the dopest shit ever. You sit down and you chant Om for a minute. Not only is there science behind it, that it produces peak perception and high states of bliss within your brain waves. You don't need no fucking charts. You can feel it. You know when you do that. Universe starts repaying. It's not just a universe. It's just like this larger consciousness system that says, hello, thanks for noticing me. I'm here too. Here's a little something for you. And it's not just life force. Like, you go into meditation and it's like, you come out, the way I use my meditations is like, I'm like this grappling hook and I'm throwing it across a field and then I'm pulling myself to the grappling hook. And as I'm pulling, I'm like going through the day, going through all the trials and tribulations of the nonsensical shit you gotta deal with in the everyday struggle. I get to that other, I get to where the grappling hook anchored and landed, and then I'm in the meditative state again. And so, or maybe like imagine like a bow and arrow with a rope attached to it. So you can use these meditations to really bring a manifestation into your own reality. Like you can build up and start setting intentions for what you want to do and where you want to be. And then between the meditations is where the magic happens. Because you'll start, I mean, not only does magic happen within the meditation, it happens outside the meditation. You start meditating, you learn the magic is fucking real. And it's way different than what you thought it was. It's not Harry Potter. It's like, it's some other shit. It's like, wow, we are kind of living in a dream and stuff that, like, what are the odds of this happening to me? You start to consider those odds, and you're like, you start to draw synchronicities and synchronous life experiences into your path when you start to develop a conscious or a spiritual awareness. And that really is, the coolest thing, I think, because you'll see it happen. So that's just my practice. I do transcendental meditation. Another thing I do is deep breathing. I've got a little bit of philosophy behind this. Really, I guess it's called whole body breathing. So like I sit straight up. You got to keep your legs like shoulder width apart. You don't want to cross them because the ideology, the philosophy, the theory is that we've all got this, the body has got an energetic system to this. And this practice really centers all along the Kundalini energy, the creative life force energy that rests at the bottom of your spine. And so you got all this energy at the bottom of your spine. It sits in the last vertebrae of your spine. It's called the coccyx. And this coccyx has got like a sacrocranial pump in it that pumps this liquid up and down your spine. I mean, this liquid is supposedly produced in the brain. It drips down the spine. It makes a lot of different. They call it the river of life, right? Is that what they call it? They must call it that. What do they call it? It's the tree of life. It's in this book. George Carey's an expose of physical regenesis, the tree of life. Yeah, or the river of life. It's your nervous system. But you've got this, vital life fluid that's inside your body. It's inside your spine, it's inside your brain, it's inside your generative organs. And this is also where the Kundalini energy rests. And so you keep your coccyx open so the Kundalini energy can move up and down. You close it off like you cross your legs. I'm kind of drawing on this point. It doesn't really matter. It's your belief that matters. But, so you do whole body breathing. You breathe into your stomach. And that's how you pull in the most energy. It's like, we always are usually breathing into our chest and into our lungs. And our stomach comes in, and our chest and our shoulders kind of come up and out, and then you breathe out, and then your stomach goes out. So you think about it, that's kind of backwards. You should really be breathing so that your stomach comes out when you breathe in, and your stomach comes out, and then your stomach goes in when you breathe out. That kind of makes a little bit more sense to me. So that's what you do. You take deep breaths into your stomach, and it builds up the energy to travel up your spine. And after like 25 breaths of this, you start to feel a little lightheaded, and you're like, wow, this is kind of crazy. And you realize the breath has got this power to build up an energy, to build this conscious force, this energy inside of you. And it's a visceral, it's a sensual thing. Philosophy, though, is that like all this oxygen, it's like, what is the difference between the oxygen I am breathing in and the oxygen my friend is breathing in? We're separate in distance, but there's no split in the oxygen. it consumes all this space. It goes underneath the cracks of the door. It goes outside, carried across the wind currents, and everybody else on the west coast or the north, south, east, west, everybody's breathing the same oxygen, right? So this oxygen is kind of symbolic for the subconscious. So you breathe in more of that subconscious. And it brings you into the present. It brings you into the moment. And it's true what they say. I said this a little while ago to somebody. I was like, the greatest things in life are still free. Or is it the greatest things in life are free? Something like that. You get the gist of what I'm saying. So yeah, it's important to have a spiritual and a conscious practice because it melds your subconscious mind with your conscious mind, thus giving you a greater awareness of the totality of your being, which when you do this often enough, you start to come into the realization that the totality of your being is the totality of the multiverse, that there's nothing outside of you that isn't inside of you. It doesn't matter if it's dark matter or black holes or Arcturus and Orion, or if it's the pyramids themselves or these crazy shit I talk about in my other videos. Like, all of that is just internalized. It's all within you, and meditation brings you closer to that realization. It also lets you help build your life and manifest things better. It's a really good tool to start to really grow your soul, as I think is a good way to put it. Because some of us got little ass souls, and they're covered with all this layers of excrement, basically. Bullshit that serves no purpose other than to keep us weighed down. So, yep. You need a good practice. I mean, you don't need a good practice. Tips for, like, if you don't want to breathe, you don't want to meditate, doesn't matter. Just do a practice. Like, it doesn't matter if you sit down and you ring your Tibetan singing bowl and then you just try and feel the waves of that shit, or you're doing yoga and you do, incorporate some breathing into that, or you're just going outside, putting your raw feet on the earth and sun gazing every morning or every evening, or just going out there and just being thankful and grateful to be alive and to be in the present and to have this present, to maintain presence. So, on that note, God bless. I love you all. Be safe out there in the fucking Matrix. Remember, there's nothing greater than you. You are supremacy. Some of us just don't believe it. But this will help you be it. This will help you realize it. So thank you for tuning in to the Truth Observatory. Just a little bit of nonsense I thought I'd help you out with. These videos drag on forever, 28 minutes. Fuck me. Alright. One love, bro.